Morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thank you for your attending. And first on the agenda, we'd like to give the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to ask my colleague, Commissioner, to give our Pledge of Allegiance. Sure. Lead our Pledge of Allegiance.
Shall we?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to confirm that we have an establishment of a quorum. Mr. Foster?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Gurrell?
Here.
Commissioner DeMars?
Here.
Dr. Williams?
Here.
Chairman Villegas?
Here.
We have 4 commissioners, sir. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Welcome to our first meeting of 2023. Time is moving fast, and so are we. We appreciate your attendance and your participation. That's one of the great things about these types of meetings is we get to welcome everybody and hear directly from our communities. I'd like to just compliment, again, the terrific work of the Commission, and especially our Executive Director, Andy Foster, who continues to be the best, in my opinion, and in many opinions, in the world as far as the California State Athletic Commission that is responsible for our roles and setting the example for other commissions across the world, to be exact. We are the only state with a pension for boxers that has been in existence for a few years, and no other state has done this one. And I'm happy to announce that this year we are submitting a bill to provide a pension for MMA fighters. Again, this is leadership of this commission, and I'd like to thank my fellow colleagues for leading the committee to establish and provide that opportunity for MMA fighters and all combat sport participants in California. And then also I'd like to give a little shout out to our commission. If you all see the movie Creed, and you look at the referees, and they'll have their California State Athletic Commission patch on their referee shirts in the movie. Again, we don't miss a beat, and we appreciate it, and we look forward to a productive meeting and hearing from you and for you to hear about what our focus is for the remainder of the year. First on the agenda is the election of officers, which requires us to formally provide nominations for the officers of the 2023 Commission. And so I'd like to open it up for any nominations to the officers for the Commission.
I can get things started and nominate you, our chairman, Peter Villegas, to continue as chair of the commission. He's done an amazing job. We would love to have you continue in that capacity, and so I would like to make that official nomination.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Is there a second?
And I'd like to second that motion. I've just been so impressed with your leadership and looking forward to all the ways you're going to help us move forward this year through this very important agenda while we take on these big issues around pension, around getting our finances in order, and I can't think of anyone better to help us do that than you, so I second that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Gruwell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, wait a minute. Mr. Foster will take the independent votes.
Yeah, this motion is for Chairman Villegas to remain as chair for another term, another year. Commissioner Gurrell?
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. DeMars?
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Williams?
Aye.
Chairman Villegas?
Abstain.
Okay, that passes. You're the chair. Now we have taken nominations for vice chair, sir.
Yes, now the nominations for vice chair. I would like to nominate Dr. Williams to a term for vice chair of this in commission. Dr. Williams has done a terrific job in his role with the commission, but also providing the expertise in the medical and safety responsibilities that we have. So I would like to formally nominate Dr. Williams as vice chair. Do we have a second?
I'd like to second that motion.
Thank you. We have a second. Andy, you want to take vote?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Gruhl,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. DeMars,
Aye.
Dr. Williams,
Abstain.
Chairman Villegas.
Aye.
All right, 3-0. That motion passes also, sir.
Thank you. Item 4 on the agenda is to review and discuss and get a motion to pass and approve the December 12th, 2022 minutes from the meeting. Do I have a motion or any discussion?
Move to approve?
Second.
Thank you.
Can you go next?
Any discussion? Andy, you want to take roll? Public comment on our December 12th, 2022 commission meetings, minutes? Hearing none. Andy?
Commissioner Gorell,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. DeMars,
Aye.
Vice Chair Dr. Williams,
Aye.
Chairman Villegas.
Aye.
Motion passes, sir.
Thank you. Number 5 on the agenda is discussion and possible action on a petition to change the decision for Iman Williams versus Cashton Young bout on January 21st, 2023 in Commerce, California. Mr. Foster?
Chairman Villegas, we received a petition to change decision on this one, and upon my review, this petition was worthy of commission attention, in my opinion. We have a referee here, Ivan Guillermo. To no fault of Ivan, but Ivan was in an odd position, and I believe he may have missed a low blow or did miss a low blow punch, and ruled that low blow a knockdown as opposed to a foul, and that caused a 10-8 round. So my recommendation is to change this bout to a no contest. We have the video for the commissioners to review when you'd like to see it.
Please, can you roll the video?
Can you play that part again, Patricia?
Freeze frame. I wanted to make sure.
Okay. And Dr. Williams, see that one?
Yes.
We
Okay.
have the referee
Yeah.
here, sir.
Yeah, I was going to
We have
say,
the referee here, sir.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
I actually put into iMovie and freeze framed it so I could see exactly where he did hit him. And it's, you know, you could look in the picture and you could see it was a low blow.
Yeah.
And it was so fast, you could see why the referee missed it. I mean, I had to slow it down and catch one frame.
Just so he can, Ivan Guillermo.
Is the referee, Mr. Guillermo, in attendance and would like to come up and make any?
Oh, over there.
Over there.
Oh, sorry about that.
Sir, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Any thoughts, your thoughts on the recommendation, and do you think that you missed that punch?
I do believe I missed the punch. It was watching the video and watching the still frame. It was obviously a low blow, and I support the commission's decision in overturning it.
Okay. Mr. Foster, your recommendation again?
My recommendation is to make this fight a no contest, based on the referee's testimony and my talking with him and the video evidence.
Okay, do we have a motion from the commission to overturn and make this a no contest?
I'll make a motion to approve, but I also want to thank the referee for coming here. I think it takes a lot sometimes to recognize when mistakes are made, but it's amazing how few mistakes are made with our referees. And so I think it's one of those teachable moments, and so I make a motion to support the recommendation. And thank you for coming down.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any comment from, or any questions from the public or other commissioners?
This guy
Oh,
here
yes.
has got his hand.
I'm the coach.
Oh, can you come to the mic, sir? And then announce yourself and your name?
My name is Kai Zama. I'm the coach of Iman Williams. And I was wondering why it's a no contest and why can't we reverse the decision? Because if you watch the whole round, he clearly won that round. So if there was no low blow, he would have won that round, which would reverse the decision, which was a split decision for the Casting Young. So if that,
I
it was a
have-
10-8 round, and if it was a 10-9 round for Iman Williams, he would have won the fight.
I have some thoughts on that in general, as somebody who has been in a lot of fights. If you change the outcome from loss to won, what you're saying is, not only was there a referee error, which is undisputable, I mean, we have video evidence of that, but if that error hadn't happened, then this other thing would have happened, and everything else in the fight would have been equal. Where I've seen, I'm sure you have seen many times, when someone thinks they're behind, they change their strategy. They take more risks. So to say, if he'd gotten a penalty, or if something had been different, then everything else would have been the same, and this would have been the result, is a big leap. We don't know that, but we do know that there was a referee error. So that's why I would argue against a no contest versus totally reversing from a loss to a win.
Okay, I understand.
Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Demars, for that. So we have a first, we have a second.
Second.
Can you take,
Yes, sir. This motion to make this a no contest, this particular item. Commissioner Gruelle,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Demars,
Aye.
Vice Chair Dr. Williams,
Aye.
Chairman Villegas.
Aye.
4-0, motion passes.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. And thank you to the coach and to the referee. I think that is an example of what we do here in California, is that we make sure we address any issue that may be in question. And because we have a standard here in California that we want to maintain. And I think that's a good example of us doing that, but a better example of both the referee and the coach coming to speak and make their position. So thank you for coming, and thank you for participating. The next item on the agenda is a discussion and possible action on a petition to change the decision for Matt Hampton and Callum Parker bout on October 22, 2022 in Commerce, California. Mr. Foster?
All right. Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a petition that Mr. Hampton alleges there were fence grabs in round 3. And I think the argument is if there weren't fence grabs and he'd had the point deduction, this fight might have been a different outcome. I think the video evidence is indisputable that there were fence grabs. We have the referee here, but notice that I didn't make a recommendation because it's difficult to say how much this lack of calling the foul would have impacted this fight. It's difficult for me to make that. And the referee did what he did. I assigned the referee, and there are missed fence grabs often in mixed martial arts. It's one of the more egregious fouls that happens in MMA. I think a no contest could be, could be some degree of justice, but that's up for the commissioners to make that decision. And to speak with the referee if you so choose.
Do you have the video?
We do.
You can turn it on.
Hampton needs gas. He has sheer will. Big lefts from both guys. Now we're going to get a shoot here, and it's going to be stuffed by Matt Hampton. Does that mean Callum is tired? We don't know. Or is he just changing gears?
Yeah, or does it mean that his corner's like, listen, dude, you hit him with everything but the kitchen sink.
You're not going to knock him out. Yeah.
Change it up. Go win the round. Don't worry about the knockout. It's not going to happen. Go win the round and see what happens. Because the last thing I want him to do is run the risk. Because honestly, he's ahead right now in my thought process. Is Callum Parker's ahead right now?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's got to be ahead. Like you said, his output's better. He's more efficient. He's landed more shots. He's done more damage. But aside from that, Hampton has looked worse for the wear throughout the fight. Meaning, when he's getting hit, he's crumpling. He's turning his head. He's walking away. Callum, for the most part, has stalked him. You know what I mean? And that does sit with the judges. That shows you who's moving forward.
His fingers in the cage right there. He got away with some fence grab right there.
Yeah, a couple times.
Out of place.
And Uriah says something to the referee. Both corners have to be impressed with their fighters.
He's doing it again right there. The ref is.
And Hampton's looking at him. He's saying, "Hey man, he's grabbing the cage." This crowd saying, "Let's work." These guys just fought for 5 minutes straight without slowing down. Believe me, they're working. Nice shot left, followed by another left from Hampton. He's counters.
Parker looking.
There's a big elbow coming in, and it was a 6-12 elbow coming in instead of a 12-6.
Straight. I like to call that a tusk. I don't know what they call that in Muay Thai, but when it comes straight in like that, I like to call that a tusking elbow. Hampton's thrown a couple of them.
Okay, so Callum looks tired again.
I agree.
But we thought that before, and he came back crazy. So who knows? Big shot by Matt Hampton, left hand. Cap City Honda will be awarding the fight of the night tonight, and if these guys aren't in the talk, then we might as well not even have it.
They've got to be in the talk. This thing is insane the way you guys have been beating each other up. Callum is backing up, looking for that. I think he's looking for that second gear. He's looking for that. And there it is.
UFC has Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonner. Well, we have Matt Hampton versus Callum Parker at A1 Combat.
Big right hand for Parker.
Nice combo, actually. He hit it with a jab and then threw the right. Both shots landed. Blood coming from the right side of the nose of Matt. You know what? There's blood coming everywhere.
Big kick to the body. Nice elbow from Hampton. Hampton's, this round so far, Hampton is landing a little bit better than Parker is in this round so far.
Yeah, Hampton looks the fresher fighter again, as he did in the beginning of round 2. But now it's Callum Parker pushing him up against the cage. I wouldn't want to judge this fight. And look at him sneaking behind there. Nice little move by Matt Hampton. And now he's going to look for a takedown of his own. He's got a high crotch.
Now will he finish it?
He is going to finish this, I think, because I think Callum Parker's tired. I really do.
Oh, he got a fence grab.
And that's the second time he's going to maybe have to take a point here. Because he's been warned several times. That actually changes the outcome of the fight.
But has
that could have been a takedown.
Before he picked him up.
Parker is in this round.
I wouldn't watch.
Now will he finish it?
He is going to finish this, I think, because I think Callum Parker's tired. I really do.
Oh, he got a fence grab.
And that's the second time he's going to maybe have to take a point here. Because he's been warned several times. That actually changes the outcome of the fight.
But
that could have been a takedown. Here's the thing, though, Chad. That it doesn't matter because if it changes the outcome of the fight, now we don't have the slam, we don't have the takedown. Matt Hampton could lose this round when he could have won it had he gotten the takedown. I think a point needs to be taken away right
I think
there.
a point needed to be deducted, or they needed to start this on the ground. And because he didn't get the full takedown, they should have deducted a point from their. Because that was a flagrant.
That was going to be a heavy slam too.
Yeah.
That could have very well ended the fight.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the referee not taking a point there. I'm not a referee, but listen, I'm here to analyze these fights.
Well,
I think a point should have been taken.
They've been warned already. The warning came in the pre-fight instructions saying if you grab the fence, we're going to take a point.
And he was told over here twice to stop grabbing the fence. Nice jabs from Matt Hampton. It's sad though. Hampton had a chance to really change the tide of this fight. And now Hampton is
Okay, I think that's enough on the video. Commissioners, any thoughts,
Yeah, I have some thoughts on it. I watched this multiple times at home, and I did see twice where he undeniably grabbed the fence. Once when he was being lifted up like that, and once before. However, I don't necessarily agree with the commentary. That would have totally changed the fight from he lost to he won.
Right.
Because I think it's similar to the boxing that we saw, that I think it was a referee error, and I think it should be changed to no contest. But to say, I've seen some incredible things just in the last few matches we watched when we were at the Bellator one, where people were picked up and you would have thought they never would have got out of that, and yet they did. So to say, if he hadn't grabbed that, it would have happened like this, I think the right thing to do would be to change it to a no contest.
Thank you.
I totally agree. I have a question just from a layperson getting a better understanding of the sport. Tell us about sort of how common this type of penalty is, Executive Director Foster, and what is typically the penalties assigned or what typically is done by the referee? And then I'd also be curious, when fighters first begin this sport, how much time is spent learning not to use that fence as a competitive advantage illegally.
Yes, this has obviously been a rule since the inception of mixed martial arts, but the fighters typically learn not to do this in the amateur program. This comes up. Don't do it in the amateur program. But this is one of the more common fouls in what I would say was lower level professional mixed martial arts. We see, not that they're not good fighters, they are, but you don't see this in the UFC every week. This is not a UFC type foul, but we had the Bellator the other day, and we talked about this in the back room. I believe it was the co-main event, and we had the fighter, he grabbed the fence 6, 7, 8 times that night. And we talked about that with Frank Trigg in the back, and the reason Frank didn't do anything was it wasn't impacting the fight. There wasn't an impact on the fight. But my commentary to Frank was, you've got to at least acknowledge it. At least acknowledge it so the public is aware that we're seeing what you're seeing. In this particular case, I think there's an argument made that the fence grab did impact some degree of the fight, but I'm in agreement with Commissioner Vars. I don't know. We don't know what would have happened from that. We just know that it impacted it.
I have a question, and maybe for the commissioners, you, Andy, as well. Do you distinguish an issue of omission, meaning our referee probably didn't see and didn't call the first fence grab? We saw it in retrospect. We saw it from our view. His view, he didn't. Versus the last case we had where it was kind of an issue of commission, where it was ruled a knockdown, and we say, well, no, that wasn't. It was a low blow. In my mind, there's a distinction there, but I'm just wondering if there's a distinction from your standpoint, Andy. Is that one of the reasons that you didn't have an official recommendation here as compared to the previous event?
It is, because a knockdown in boxing, certainly in California, let's just talk about California for a minute. A knockdown in boxing 99.9% of the time in California is a 10-8 round. So I can give you guys I can give the commissioners on good assurance that would have been a 10-8 round had that been called correctly. With this, we don't know what would have happened because there's no objective indicator in mixed martial arts scoring. Okay, so you've got to score the entire round, and we don't know what would have happened if Matt Hampton puts him on the ground. I don't know that if he just scoots and gets right back up, or if Matt Hampton mounts him and pounds him out. You don't know. And all I can say is there was a fence grab. It did impact the fight. I don't know how much.
I agree with Andy. I think it has to do with the clarity of what the results would have been. So if you're choking somebody unconscious and they bite you and draw blood and you let go, clearly they would have lost if that hadn't happened. But with grabbing the fence, it's not so clearly they would have lost if that hadn't happened. So I think it's just more a matter of how clear it was, as Andy said, what the outcome would have been otherwise.
Can I ask one last question? I guess you made a good point, which is, are we here to really talk about the fighters' performance and what they did, or did our official miss something he should have caught? And I guess that's the question again to you, Andy, which is this something, because these fighters, they're trying to win, they're trying to have a competitive advantage, that's what they're supposed to do. These were two amazing athletes. I really enjoyed watching this fight over and over again and seeing what they were capable of doing, but aren't we here more talking about what our officials did? And did our officials make the right call or the wrong call? And how do we remedy that?
It is. We're a regulatory body, and I believe, and Molinari is a good referee, but I believe our referee missed enforcing one of the commission's regulations. That was a fence grab. And I believe by missing that particular that regulation, it impacted the fight. I just don't know how much it impacted the fight.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I would move we change the result to a no contest.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any public comment? Is a referee in attendance and would you like to come up and make any comments? Thank you.
Greetings to everyone, and thank you for having me. As my colleague did, Ivan, I take full responsibility. I did miss this call. There was an opportunity for a fence grab that, based on my position, I didn't see, the one that we saw, the first one, but the second one, in review of the video, if the combination of those, if I had this fight to do over, I would have indeed taken a point away from the combatant for the fence grab because he clearly prevented a takedown. And as the commissioner has alluded, we don't know what that would have, the outcome of that would have been, but that isn't my job. My job is to, as Mr. Foster said, enforce the rule, and I didn't do that. And to the commission, I do apologize, and to the combatants, it won't happen again.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, thank you. We have a first and we have a second. Mr. Foster?
Yes, calling the roll. Commissioner Gurrell,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. DeMars,
Aye.
Vice Chair Dr. Williams,
Aye.
Chairman Villegas.
Aye. Motion passes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And again, I'd like to thank you for coming up and both referees for taking accountability. I think that's part of our commitment here in California is to make sure that we are all accountable from top to bottom, and we appreciate you coming here and participating. We look forward to future activities with your engagement and, as my colleagues mentioned, learning experience, so thank you. Next up on the agenda is number 7, a discussion and possible action regarding Roy Engelbrecht's promotions request to hold an event using Trigon combat rules pursuant to the California Code of Regulations, Title 4, Section 533. Mr. Foster?
Mr. Chairman, the commissioners last year approved Triller to do a rule set that were similar to this. It was called Triad. This is called Trigon. Similar rule set. Basically, it's it's mostly boxing. It's a little bit of like throws and these type of things in a triangle type ring. Ken could speak to this better than I could, but I think the regulations from a legal perspective give the commissioners broad authority to decide if you would like to do this or not, or you would like to sanction this. I believe I can make this safe. I believe our referees can handle this. Roy Engelbrecht's been a long time promoter with us, and as long as it's Roy Engelbrecht that's the promoter of this, I'm not enthusiastically recommending this, but I'm not going to say not to do it either. I'm telling you, I think I can make this okay. And so it's up to the commissioners. This is a policy question, really.
So Trigon, any questions?
Yeah, I have one. With the Triad event that you said was similar last year, were there any significant injuries, any significantly more than, say, a boxing or MMA or kickboxing event?
Well, we didn't do that event. Triller had some issues, and I didn't want to move forward with that particular event during that time. So we never did do it.
So Trigon combat rules, tell us a little bit about Trigon. Are they based here in California? Where are they?
Well, the rule set, Roy is based here in California.
Yeah.
Roy is based here in California, and Roy is wanting to use these Trigon rules. How much the BYB company, or what we call, I think, very, very big in bare knuckle boxing, has to do with this remains to be the question. I am not supportive of bare knuckle boxing at all. I don't think that should be happening at all.
It's the most definitive statement I've ever heard you make.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not, but that's not, they're not suggesting any type of bare knuckle boxing here or requesting in California, correct?
They're not requesting bare knuckle boxing.
Okay.
They are on the app. They are on the permit. The BYB Extreme is the promoter of bare knuckle boxing. I believe that's right, Tricia. That's correct, in Florida.
But there is a clear message that there is no assumption or no recommendation or no tie-in to bare knuckle boxing now or in the future. Is that correct?
Well, that's yes, sir. And I just wanted to make that clear, along with the commissioners, that is the assumption here, that this is for Trigon. This rule set that Roy provided with gloves. It looks like the Triad stuff that Triller did. It's in a triangle ring. And Roy Engelbrecht is here, sir, to answer questions from the commissioners.
Okay. Well, I'm with you on the no bare knuckle boxing in California. I'm very opposed to that. But as long as there's no mention and no assumption and no tie-in to that, I just want to make sure that's defined in the application.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, maybe Andy, you or Roy could answer. I read the rules. It sounds like it's basically just boxing in a triangle, yes?
Yeah, I think they can do some mainly,
Pretty
yes.
much, yeah.
Pretty much, yes.
Roy, you want to come up and give us a little more background or overview on your request?
Roy Engelbrecht, fight promoter. This is very similar to what, I want to say 2 years ago, when Triller contacted my promotions company and said we want to do Triad Combat at the hangar. We do our Fight Club OC shows at the hangar. The event coordinator, we're going to do it in a triangle. And at that time, Triad Combat Triller did submit the rules to Executive Officer Andy Foster, and we were going to move ahead with that, and then Triller pulled the plug on that. Fast forward to a couple of months ago when BYB said, well, we have this concept, would you be interested in promoting it at the hangar? Here are the rules, submitted the rules to Executive Officer Foster. We created a seating chart. It's going to be a triangle ring. And it is basically pretty much boxing with unique kind of gloves, the same gloves that Triad Combat was going to use. But we have done nothing until to this commission meeting. We have the hangar on reserve. We've not sold a ticket. We've not made a fight because we did not want to do anything until the commission approved this event on Thursday, April 27th.
How big is that ring?
It's 26 from the point to the flat end, 26 feet.
It looks small.
Yeah, maybe that's the picture.
Yeah.
Any questions for for Roy from the commission? Those are the gloves right there?
Correct.
Do we have any background or data of these other states on the safety aspect of the sport? Are they seeing higher cases of head injuries or other types of injuries that traditional boxing or mixed martial arts with similar gloves have?
I don't believe.
That's a question more to Andy,
I'm sorry.
sir. Sorry.
Sir, I've not heard that from Texas. I talked to Jim and Greg about this event when it was in Texas. My biggest concern, Patricia, if we can go back to the triangle, and this is something that I've got to train my referees on and at least have the conversation, not that I'm the trainer, but we're going to have a conversation. You see how this triangle angles really close right
Yes.
here? You see this? But you see how the other one's not as much? You see, if you get caught over here, you're going to be stuck. You can't roll off like a traditional boxer. You're stuck. You've got to fight your way out of that, you see? So that was one of the things that I had concerns about when I initially was looking at the tries, like, how are you going to get out of the corner? But I think it's something that we can overcome. If we can certainly talk about it, the referees will just have to know it's very similar to boxing, but it's not identical.
Yeah. It's a good point.
We also made the commitment because of the training of officials, because there's never been a triangle, that we realized that there will be an extra cost to the promotion for training officials, maybe more officials for this show. So we agreed that that's the cost of doing business, because we think this would be a fun event to do, especially in California. And just so the commission knows, this is just like a regular show, that we have a box office, the 5% Neuro Fund. It's just like a regular pro boxing show or pro MMA show box office.
You answered that question. I would have said you probably gave me an entry into asking, are these folks paying into our pension fund in these events? If these are boxers, like a boxing event with boxing rules, just a different type of ring.
Yeah, I believe that they would, because we'll register them with federal IDs under boxing.
Under boxing.
Under boxing. They're not going to be mixed martial artists. This looks more like boxing to me than it does mixed martial arts. But that would really be a legal question since we're using 533. Ken, do you think I could license them under the boxing regulations?
533 relates specifically to mixed martial arts, so I think that the safest course of action would be to register them as mixed martial artists.
Okay, so there it is.
Therefore, the pension requirement would not apply.
Roy could voluntarily pay. There's a provision for that if he chose to, but there's no requirement.
And all the fighters would, again, they would be professional athletes. They would have to receive all the California medical requirements to be licensed as a fighter.
Can you go to the gloves again? So the fingers, the four fingers are exposed, but not the thumb.
Right.
So they can grab, unlike boxing gloves, they can grab something.
And those are the gloves that Triad Combat Triller was going to use.
Okay. Any other questions for Roy? Thank you, Roy. I appreciate it. And coming down and giving some more explanation. And I think we've done this before for Triller. Roy's been a long time promoter and exceptional leader in the industry for years. Not to say that you're older, Roy, I'm just saying your experience. So I just want to make sure there's no connection to bare knuckle boxing. That's my concern. And since that's been confirmed here, I'd like to go ahead and move forward and call for any motion to allow this.
Yeah, that was my question, Chair. Is this motion specifically for an event, correct?
Just one event?
Right.
Okay.
For
That-
one event.
That makes me feel more comfortable. I don't know, I don't have the words or the background to articulate why this is something I can't quite sink my teeth. I just don't, if it's one event and we're going to try it and Andy feels it's a safe way in which you can conduct this sport and you can officiate it properly, for one event, I would make that motion, but I'd want to make sure that we got a good report afterwards, and it might be one we decide to go down and personally attend if this is going to be a future sport we're going to see a lot more of. So I'd make a motion for this one event.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve for one event. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comment, any public comment? Any other comments from the commission? Hearing none. Mr. Foster?
Commissioner Gorell,
Aye.
Commissioner and Dr. DeMars,
Aye.
Vice Chair Dr. Williams,
Aye.
Chairman Villegas.
Aye.
All right, one event.
Motion carries.
Roy, you can submit your permit.
Thank you, and please work closely with Andy and the commission to make sure that we dot the i's and cross the t's on all issues.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Roy. I'm going to switch up the agenda a little here because I want to address a couple things that I think are important that we do. So we are going to move to agenda item number 10, the discussion and possible action for the commission to sponsor or ratify the sponsorship of Assembly Bill 1136, Assemblymember Haney, which is an act to add Article 17, commencing with Section 18888 to Chapter 2 of Division 2 of the Business and Professions Code, requiring the commission to establish a mixed martial arts pension fund similar to our Boxers Pension Fund, and to adopt emergency regulations to implement, interpret, or make specific the act and making related legislative findings and declarations. So, Mr. Foster, can you give a little bit more background on that?
Yes, Chairman Villegas, thank you. This has been a long-time goal of the Athletic Commission to create this, much like the Boxers have. It's part of the strategic plan. And Commissioner Matt Haney out of San Francisco has drafted and is the author of the legislation. And this would be a formal vote to have the commission as the regulatory agency sponsor the legislation, and also allow me or a commissioner to attend hearings to voice that support.
Thank you. And I'd like to give a special thanks to Commissioners Gruwell and Dr. DeMars for their leadership on the committee and creating the recommendation. Any comments, any thoughts that you'd like to add before I ask for a motion?
I just say, I haven't talked to a single MMA fighter coach who is against this. In fact, what I've heard is, how could anybody be against this? How could you say boxers should get a pension and not MMA fighters? It's not like they're subjected to less punishment. I mean,
Good,
physical
yeah.
punishment in the ring.
Same here. It's all been positive comments.
I've had a lot of pride being able to work with Dr. DeMars on this issue, and I just can't think of anything that reflects the values of our commission and our state, but to provide the dignity and benefit of long-term support for these athletes. And my only question is, I wish it had happened years back, but I'm glad that we've been able to find a great author and champion in this, and I think we're doing the right thing. So
Thank you. Thank you. Can I ask for a motion?
I move that the commission support this wholeheartedly and encourage Andy to do whatever he can to get it passed.
Mr. Chair, the recommended form of motion would be for the commission to sponsor or ratify the sponsorship of the bill and take all actions necessary to work with the assembly member in moving it forward.
Do you want to pretend I said that, Ken?
You can say so moved.
So moved.
There you go. Can I have a second? Thank you, Ken.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Grewell. Any comments, any public comments? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Foster?
Commissioner Gruelle,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. DeMars,
Aye.
Vice Chair Dr. Williams,
Aye.
Chairman Villegas.
Aye.
Motion passes, sir.
So moved. Again, I've said this before, I'm so proud of my colleagues. For whatever reason, I don't know what, it didn't happen before, but our responsibility is to make sure that we do our best to provide the safety and fairness for all participants moving forward. So I'm very proud that this commission has made this effort. And again, a lot to Mr. Foster for his leadership and the staff. Another sign of California in this commission making sure that we show our sincere concern for participants that work here in California. I'm proud of this. I'm excited about it, so thank you for your leadership on that. And hopefully other commissions will follow suit, but we're going to keep leading on this effort and many other efforts. Thank you very much for that. Number 11, discussion and possible action to sponsor or support bill to amend Business and Professions Code Section 18824 relating to report of tickets issued and sold, gross receipts, gross price charged for broadcast and television rights, and tax on admission, to increase the limit or cap on the gate tax or fee from $100,000 to $200,000, and to make related technical changes. Boy, I'm glad I read that right and didn't. Can someone send a note to my English teacher back in grade school? Mr. Foster?
Mr. Chairman, this bill was a culmination of a lot of things. When we tried, I think at our last sunset review, I believe it was in 2019, we asked for this increase then, and it was not included in the bill. We asked for an increase, and it's important to note that this increase would only affect very, very few promoters, the largest of the promoters that we have in the state. This is not an increase in the percentage, it's an increase in the cap. There's very few promoters that have over $2 million gates, but if this bill would affect those promoters, would impact those promoters. How this came about, it's worth, because it's going to come out in my report anyway, so it's time to talk about it, was for whatever reason, we won't go into the details in a public, but the department, the budget office, told me on a Tuesday before the Friday when the deadline was that I needed to work on seeing if I could get a fee increase, a cap increase, because this is the commission's #1 revenue stream. And I called you. You knew Miss Wendy Carrillo, and I started working with her chief of staff, worked with Ken Swenson. We put the language together. We submitted it to Edmundo and her chief of staff, and they actually had a spot bill, the weights and measures bill, but they had a spot bill, and this language may change some, but the idea is to figure out a way for the commission to generate additional revenue, because the last time the cap's been increased was in 2000, so it's been 23 years ago, and the commission needs some, and when I was looking at this, because I've been looking at it for a while, you don't want to increase cost on fighters. You don't want to increase cost on any of the license types, in my view, except the largest promoters. And the reason I didn't go after the TV piece of it, and you'll see this in another report that I'll provide later, California benefits greatly by having that TV tax cap. We have lots of television activity within the state, and I believe that it makes some degree of sense to keep that cap in place. And that cap was raised, I believe, in 2013 or 2014, so it's been more recent. This cap's 23 years old, and this is the commission's #1 revenue generator. It makes sense, and by my best estimate, if this were to become law, this would give the commission additional $200,000 to $300,000 a year in additional revenue. On a $1.9 million budget, that's significant.
Thank you. I'd like to remind folks also that the Department of Consumer Affairs oversees all California commissions. We're the only commission that doesn't generate our revenue from licensing fees. All other commissions generate their revenue from licensing fees. So we rely on various sources of revenue, and the gate fees are one of them. It allows us to do what we need to do, which is train referees, train judges, train inspectors, and operate the responsibilities of the state that has the most events than any other state in the U.S. So this is important to us to keep us going. Any questions, any comments from my colleagues?
I'm just so happy that Mr. Foster shared how this came about, because I think that you probably wouldn't have taken any credit, but some credit is deserved here, and these types of things just don't happen. It takes a lifetime of relationships and trust for folks to be willing to take that kind of risk in a spot bill at the 11th hour. And I guess I would say that one of the things I'm amazed by is how much you do, Andy, with so little in resources. And I don't think having an anemic commission benefits the folks that we're serving. And so anything like this that can help give you the tools which you can get with the revenue that this is going to bring in. I also like that this is not a regressive fee. You really are not punishing the smaller events. You're really recognizing these larger events, quite frankly, have the ability to take on this additional cost. And so I think that was a good decision and good way of approaching it. So thank you for doing this, and I think it's going to make a big deal going forward as we come out of COVID and those tougher days behind us.
Thank you, sir. One thing I would point out for the commissioners so that they can understand how the commission compares to other jurisdictions is, for example, an example of this is California has a cap. New York has no cap. Nevada has no cap. Texas has no cap. And in Nevada, their gate fee is 8% on the gate. In California, it's 5%. They did get rid of their TV fee about 6 years ago. But in New York, it's kind of interesting. They're different. Mixed martial arts is charged 8.5% at the gate. Boxing's charged 3% at the gate. So it's kind of an unusual. And Texas is more like California, it's 5%. But I just wanted to provide that clarification so that California is the only major state with a cap.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Ken, is it?
Mr. Chair, the recommended form of motion would be as follows, that the commission sponsor and support the bill to raise the cap on the gate tax from $100,000 to $200,000, and direct staff to work with Assemblymember Carrillo's office to move that bill forward.
Thank you.
I make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Andy?
Commissioner Gurrell,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. DeMars.
Public comment, please.
Oh, public comment? I'm sorry. Hearing none?
Commissioner Gurrell,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. DeMars,
Aye.
Vice Chair Dr. Williams,
Aye.
Chairman Villegas.
Aye.
Okay, sir.
Great.
Passes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. And again, another sign of leadership. You know, California is the 4th largest GDP in the world. The sports industry in California is the strongest. We have the most sports events, especially here in LA. No disrespect to the Bay Area. But sports is an economic driver in California. And so this is perfect and consistent with what we want and what we earn and deserve. So I want to thank you again, Andy, for your leadership in working with Assemblymember Wendy Carrillo's office to make this happen. Miss Assemblymember Carrillo represents the East LA area, including Dodger Stadium. So sports is very important in her district. It's, as I said, a job creator, economic driver. So thank you all for making that happen. I'd like to move back up to the agenda item number 8. Is everybody okay? Do you guys need to take a break? We're moving okay? You would like to take a
Just 5 minutes.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break for restroom or anything else, and we'll reconvene at, what time is it now? We'll be back at 11:05. This meeting back to order. If we can be seated and resume our agenda. Appreciate it. The next item on the agenda is the review, discussion, and possible action regarding the request for delegation of amateur Muay Thai to World Boxing Council, Muay Thai, WBC, Muay Thai. Mr. Foster?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this was, I've been in talks for quite a while with Brian and some other folks at the World Boxing Council, and Mauricio and I have chatted back and forth. Recently, the WBC Muay Thai has been trying to put together a program, a structure here in California, but I've really not been requested to sit down and talk with them just yet. Like I don't know who the referees are, I don't know who the judges are, I don't know who their inspectors are, I don't know. There's a lot that I don't know, and they've recently appointed, I believe, Patrick Rivera is going to be is who they're hoping to run the California program. He's here. I met him for the first time today. And I'm very much am supportive of the World Boxing Council. We work with them almost every week in boxing. But this is a different entity. This is actually delegating commission authority for amateur Muay Thai. Now, I do like the rules. One of the biggest thing I like is the headgear. They require the headgear, and I'm very pleased about that. So I think I would just like to learn more about the WBC Muay Thai, and I think Mr. Rivera is here to talk with the commissioners.
Okay. Mr. Rivera, can you come up and give a little bit more information and background? Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Chairman Villegas, Mr. Foster, members of the commission. Good morning. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Patrick Rivera. I am the chairman of WBC Muay Thai in the United States and was appointed the responsibility to oversee the ethical growth and development of Muay Thai to the highest standards of the WBC in America. Now, prior to coming on board with the WBC, I was the Chief Development Officer for USA Muay Thai, also known as the United States Muay Thai Federation, and RSO under the USOC and the International Olympic Committee. I was also one of the head Muay Thai coaches for USA Muay Thai, tasked to select and coach dozens of American athletes from across America to compete all around the world. My own athletes have amassed a record of 12 medals, world championship medals, at various world championships over the years from adult and youth, male and female. Now, nationally in the United States, I've created and started various initiatives to organically help grow the sport of Muay Thai through education, such as the Muay Thai Youth Academy, how to teach gym owners how to work with kids and develop kids in an ethical way, the Youth Development League, the Muay Thai Business Summit, and the Muay Thai Development League, with participations in these programs affecting literally thousands in our industry throughout the United States. In addition, I'm also a gym owner with 4 gyms in Northern California, 3 in Stockton and 1 in Elk Grove, a suburb of Sacramento, and I'm a co-owner of a gym in Phuket, Thailand. I just wanted to thank you for allowing us to be here today to introduce ourselves and possibly look at the potential of working together with the state of California under overseeing Muay Thai. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission?
So just so I'm clear, you haven't had a chance to really discuss things or meet with Andy and kind of talk about, big picture items and?
Not as of yet, no.
Okay.
No. Formerly, my colleague was Brian Dobler, and he was in contact with Mr. Foster, him and our president of WBC Muay Thai based in Bangkok, Colonel Tanapong. I was the director of operations for the last year, and Brian decided to step down, and then because he lives in Thailand full-time now, so he asked me to now take that position as chairman of the WBC Muay Thai.
Thank you. Any comments or any questions? I strongly recommend that you do spend time with Mr. Foster so that he can better understand the requests and the responsibilities that we would have, the commission would have. And then Mr. Foster could give us a recommendation or a report on your discussions.
Absolutely.
Because we're committed to the highest level of support to all of the leagues and sports that we oversee. And we need to make sure that we understand all aspects before we can take an action. So
Yes, sir.
strongly recommend you sit with Mr. Foster as soon as possible, and then at our next meeting, maybe come up with a recommendation or.
Yeah.
Is that fine?
Yes, sir. I mean, Patrick, I hope you're hearing, the commissioners are not saying no. I know Dan Stell and Elaine Stell back there, they're officials with CSAC, and the fact that I assign them all the time speaks, I know they're very good officials, but I don't know, like, how your structure is, who your lead inspectors are. I would like to know more about it before the state says go.
Absolutely.
And we're not saying no. And I very much respect Mauricio Suleiman, and we've talked about this. I just don't know I would like to know more. Maybe I can come down or you come up, and you're in Northern California, so we can meet. We can sit down and talk about what you're hoping for with an actual structure, much like Camo when they initially presented, and how, and maybe you could talk to JT Steele and see how he does all the different things, because there's various pieces. And before I would like to make a recommendation one way or another to the commissioners, and hopefully it's positive, I just would like to know you and know your staff better.
Sure.
This is the first time we've ever met.
Understandable. Yes, sir.
I would be happy to make that recommendation. I mean, if you're delegating your responsibility and authority, that takes a lot of trust. And trust is something that has to be built sometimes over time. And so I think it's wise to take some time and get to know and make sure there's a real mutual understanding before we delegate that authority. So I would make that recommendation.
Okay. We don't need to vote on that, correct?
The only reason you need to vote on it would be if the organization intends to present at the June 5th commission meeting. It would be a good idea to establish a timeline for submission of written materials.
Okay, is that going to be enough time, Andy?
I think so.
Okay.
So the recommended form of motion would be to approve and adopt the recommendation that is listed in the memorandum.
Okay.
I would make that recommendation.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Andy? Oh, I'm sorry. Any comments from the public? Okay, we have 3 coming up. Patricia, do we have an order for these individuals? Did they sign in?
No, sir, they did not.
I signed it.
You did?
Yes.
Let's do this one.
Just take your first and last name for the record.
Yes, I'm Dennis Warner. I've been a licensed martial arts promoter since 1991 in the state of California. I'm very happy that the WBC is stepping up. I introduced them to the United States with Jose Suleiman and General COVID back in 2009. They've been primarily a professional organization. Since General COVID has stepped aside, they have decided to go into amateur competition. So I don't know much about Patrick, but I do know Brian Dobler. Brian Dobler was an amateur fighter for me and a pro fighter for me, and I did recommend him for his position. I'm sure Patrick is very capable based on what he has said in the past. I do want to make it more inclusive, though, for the commission to think about this as far as if you're going to bring in another organization to keep the ICAF as well and give the promoters more chances and options to decide what sanctioning body and what rule sets we will choose. In the past, under the California State Athletic Commission, before they did delegate, this was done very well. And since the ICAF has taken that mantle, they've been doing it very well as well. So it is important to have competition. And I would love to see WACO, USMF, IKF, WBC, all of them be a part of the athletic program here, because they all are fine organizations and they all are trying to improve whether it's kickboxing or Muay Thai at the youth and the adult level in the amateurs. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, sure, Mr. Foster, you have a question?
I have a question for Dennis. I think it's okay. You know, Dennis, this is one of the biggest things, and I'm a big headgear supporter over here, but WBC Muay Thai's rules are actually safer than the commission's rules when you look at it. I mean, from a headgear perspective, the three, and they keep their headgears on the entire time that they're amateurs. How do you think, and the question's my fact finding here at the commission in front of the public, how do you think that impacts the promoters? Like, I know the promoters like to take the headgear off after 3 fights, and we've had that discussion here at the commission level in this room before. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, you know, the headgear rule, I prefer taking it off. I think it's when I started, there really was no headgear rule at all. So even when you started, you know, the transformation of the sport has taken time. So originally, basically, the commission allowed what was called smokers at gyms, and the gyms basically held headgear fights to get the fighter to a certain level where they then come to the promoter, and the promoter would come to these shows and see that the level has gotten to a certain point where it made sense to have them fight in a public space with a paid admission. So there was a different progression. Now basically the commission has disallowed the smoker, but over 60% of the fights now are done on the mat. So you heard the MDL mentioned, PKB mentioned, and this is something that I've told Andy to look into, because basically it's a smoker fight. They're giving out belts, they're giving out decisions. It's just done through a gray area, through the old rules for karate and taekwondo, where you can have mat fighting. They just put on gloves and and basically they fight Muay Thai or kickboxing on a mat. There is no reporting of it as far as knockouts. There have been knockouts, there have been injuries. This is secondhand knowledge of me. I don't go to the PKBs. I know they're trying their best to have safety standards, but they are not under your jurisdiction, and that's troubling to me.
Dennis, let me ask you,
yeah.
The practical question that I was getting at is, I know that you like to take the headgears off probably for marketing purposes. I mean, it's nothing wrong. It's allowed in the commission's rules. Okay?
Right.
And IKF allows that following the commission's rules. If the World Boxing Council Muay Thai program requires the headgear to be on, and let's say, for example, in June that the commissioners give, just let's say that they get all their stuff together and the commissioners give a 6-month trial period to the World Boxing Council and then reevaluate in December, something like that. If that was to happen, is there enough promotions where I can go to 5 or 6 of these matches or send the inspectors to 5 or 6? Are there 5 or 6 promoters that would be willing to do this so we could get a look at it? Because it doesn't make sense to give to another entity if no one's going to use them exactly.
I don't believe promoters would use, if they had to have mandated headgear on amateurs that have fought without headgear, mainly because those athletes are not going to want to fight. And they'll go to another state or they'll do something else to further their career. Whether they're going to turn pro or not, I don't know. But yeah, that case, you also have to be troubled by you're granting these delegations to organizations and then they're becoming a promoter. They're doing tournaments. They're taking data that has been compiled from the promoter, meaning me and other promoters in Southern California, and then soliciting them to charge them to be in a tournament to find out whatever an IKF or a WBC or a WMC champion would be. So that's another part of this. If you do add these delegations, I would like the commission to basically stop that, because unless the promoters that are basically providing the money into the state and financing the shows, unless they're part of these tournaments in some structural way, it doesn't make sense to have these organizations become a promoter. Because why wouldn't I want to be a sanctioning body?
Dennis, I appreciate
there was a big separation before. Now it's kind of getting blurred.
Yeah, I appreciate your candid answer. What you said was that's been my concern. So maybe I can work with Mr. Rivera, Patrick, between now and June and figure out something, because if they get the delegation, I've got to have some events to report back too.
Yeah, and I think in working in the past with Jose and Mauricio, and I know Pepe is in the audience here, I think that they could also look at the rules and structurally think about changing them. I don't know why they allowed only headgear. Maybe that's because of the boxing background, and Mr. Dobler hasn't, or Patrick hasn't explained to them basically the progression of the sport here in California, where they would feel comfortable allowing non-headgear fights for the WBC.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Next to speak, and forgive me if I mispronounce, is Tor Saralamba. Come on up, Mr. Saralamba. Am I saying that right? Hey, I want to bet.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, thank you very much for giving me a chance to make a short statement. So my name is Tor Saralamba. I'm a Consul General of Thailand in Los Angeles. So I represent my country here in California and some other 12 states on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. So Muay Thai is a traditional sport, a traditional martial art that has been practiced for centuries in Thailand, and is deeply ingrained in our culture. So I believe that this move will help promote and preserve, this ancient art form. And as a representative of the countries, I would like to insist here that we are loving to sharing this to the world, including the people in California. So WBC Muay Thai is a well-established organization with a strong track record of organizing professional and amateurs Muay Thai competition around the world. So its expertise and experience would be an asset, I believe, in promoting the safe and fair competition in California. And I believe that California is always at the forefront as a pioneer in promoting sport industry. So this move, I think with this in mind, California would be able to tap into the growing popularities of Muay Thai that is, growing everywhere in the United States. And this would not only benefit the sport itself, but also generate revenue and create jobs in California. And working with the Thai government has been working with WBC Muay Thai for years to promote Muay Thai around the world. And it is evident for us that WBC Muay Thai is strongly committed to promoting the highest standard of safety and sportsmanship in Muay Thai competition. So the rules and regulation that they're using has been developed in consultation with the expert in this field. And of course, it has been designed to ensure that all participants are protected and treated fairly in the game. So I think it's a good idea if, we getting to know the commissioner, getting to know WBC Muay Thai more in details, and I strongly encourage that for you to study, have a serious study into the details of rule and regulation and what they can offer. And definitely it will help promoting the relationship, not between the government to the government, but also our people, the people of Thailand and the people of the United States, including California. Thank you.
Thank you, Consul General. Thank you for being here, and thank you for representing your beautiful country here in California. California has the most consulates of any state in the country, and so your community has been a beautiful one, as many others from many other countries. Our next speaker is Marna Hoskin, representing Iron Easley Company. Iron Eagle. Oh, okay, that wasn't my fault. I didn't write that.
Some of you never met me, but you know who I am.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm here with my words, but on behalf of amateur competitors, coaches, gyms throughout the state. I've been, I guess you could say, doing a case study, but actively, of the California martial arts and combat sports industry. California is my chosen state as a resident. I've been here 10 years officially now. So I come from Missouri, though, so there's still a lot of show me girl. So what I'm here to say is I support anything that elevates the organization and professionalism of amateur Muay Thai, and also on to item 9, kickboxing in the state of California. One thing I want to strongly encourage and plea with the commission is that as you build the structure to support a well-organized amateur Muay Thai environment and kickboxing environment, I ask that you insist upon open invitationals, because there are countless would-be competitors of all ages who get iced out. I support access over politics of any kind. I have supported a number of athletes and coaches and also promotions over the years. Now, I took 5 years off. I was 5 years in and 5 years off, 5 years of reflecting. And what I know to be true today, I knew to be true 5 years ago when I stepped back. And that is without things like open invitationals, where anybody can show up and earn a spot and earn some spotlight, then the level of competition will not rise. Okay, there's got to be an avenue for the kids from Elk Grove, the kids from Tustin, Stockton at one time, all right? East County, San Diego, where I started. There's got to be a place for them. There's got to be an avenue for them to compete. So it's the Shack systems from Glendora, okay, that matter. They started in a garage. I was there. I can say I was there back when people were like, you can't be doing that. Well, you know who coaches like Phil Jesse help? Under-resourced kids, at-risk kids. And you know what it is about those kids that will keep them in Muay Thai, that will keep them in kickboxing? It's knowing that they have a chance to move up. And the only way they can move up is if they actually have a fair access point to advanced competition.
Terrific.
That's what I'm here to say. I'm willing to put the legwork in. I
Thank you.
do a lot of things, have done a lot of things, mainly concentrated on helping athletes at all levels. However, I put the legwork in, and there's nobody in this room, and there's nobody out there who can't tell me or you that I won't.
Thank
So-
you, Ms. Hoskin. We appreciate it. Appreciate you
you.
coming down with your words very much. Next on the list is Mr. Ivan Ramos. Thank you, Ivan, and your promotion with us and your participation with us in the past. Thank you.
Yep, I am a relatively new promoter, Kaizo Sports Group, and I wanted to answer your question, Mr. Foster, regarding are there promotions that are willing to invest in the WBC Amateur with headgear? And the answer is yes. If it requires our promotional company to invest in 5-6 shows, so be it. It's a big task, but it's to also show the safety piece. And the reason why we are for the headgear in the amateur side, it protects the athletes and allows them to progress towards pros. Because that is one of our agendas, is to continue to elevate and provide athletes the opportunity. But if they are already fighting in pro rules in the amateur side, they don't get that opportunity because of injuries and so forth. So yes, I'm here to let you guys to let you know that there are promotions that are open to investing in the future of these athletes. So that's why I'm here to reaffirm. If again, if the requirements are 5-6 shows in a matter of 6 months, so be it. In order to start a catalyst of safer competitions, as well as the progression of amateurs to the professional stage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan.
Thank you very much. Next to speak is Mr. Jose Suleiman. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Jose Sulaiman, I'm the director of the WBC Los Angeles office. Back in the year 2000, the King of Thailand called the WBC to incorporate Muay Thai into the WBC, because he knew, and as you all very well know, the main priority of the WBC is safety, protection of the boxer. All the rules, all the medical studies are focused on the boxer, and that's one of the reasons why the King of Thailand wanted to have all that structure supporting also Muay Thai. Last year there was a youth experience in San Diego for kids, amateur Muay Thai, which was amazing. Muay Thai is a sport of honor, of culture, of pride. So there's a lot of very important things around the sport that make it so honorable. For me, it's even better than boxing because they teach the kids from the very early age this honor, this to be respectful, And you can see this in this 3-minute video that we have in YouTube. It's WBC Muay Thai Youth Experience San Diego, if you want to check that. I think it's a very instructional video. And WBC supports, WBC Muay Thai has a very important presence in every convention of the WBC. It's a very important part of the WBC structure, and I am sure that you will have that you will be very pleased with whatever Patrick has to share about how it is, all the organization, because many of the rules and the structure of the organization has been, shared from WBC, and so I thank you very much for listening to me. We are, of course, WBC is always in their corner, as we say in boxing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jose. Appreciate it. Next up is Mr. Adam Wagner.
Good afternoon. Thank you for holding this meeting, and thank you for allowing me to come up and speak. I am a certified official under the United States Muay Thai Federation, now USA Muay Thai, Thai Boxing Association, WACO, USMTA, and I've also been trained in WBC. And I just wanted to provide general public support for both the organization of WACO and WBC as being experts in their respective sports with a focus on athletic safety and moving up within the sport. So, short and sweet, just wanted to say that both are top-tier organizations that are excelling at their respective sports. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Next up is Mr. Victor Beltran.
Thank you for hosting this meeting, gentlemen. My name is Victor Beltran. A little background on myself. I've been running a school for 35 years in San Diego. I started promoting amateur Muay Thai under the Battle of Champions here in California. Back in the day with Mr. Sorry, I get emotional. But so I was part of the smoker era. And then things changed because of MMA and different legislations. And then one day they told me, hey, you just get your license, please. And I said, all right, great. So we got my license. One thing that I noticed when we got our license was that I had already done about 20 smokers and a couple events in Rosarito and in Tijuana, amateur events, and nobody had ever gone to the hospital. And then as soon as we had the state, I saw that there was a difference in between the refereeing of amateur and pro. And that's all changed. It's really good. But at first, it was kind of rough because I was like, wow, these guys are like letting them go to big extremes, And so I think it's very important that we have an organization that is developing continual education in refereeing, judging, development of coaches, background checks on coaches, blood testing on amateurs, full headgear throughout their amateur career. How is it okay in such a beautiful state that we have in California to have amateur fighters fight like pros and not get paid? When is going to be the ascension to go to pro? How are we going to make that happen? And a lot of amateur fighters as well, is just there's not enough fighters, pro fighters out there for me to fight, for me to turn pro. Well, because there's no need, And I think that, you're talking about the pension and how you want to do the pension for the fighters. Well, actually, Muay Thai will have the lowest one, correct? Because there's very little pro fighters versus amateur fighters. When are they going to ascend? They're getting the same hits, the same damage, fighting with the same size gloves, shin guards, headgear, all that should be in there. Okay, so hopefully you guys will give WBC, I'm part of the WBC, an opportunity to help progress the sport and not regress. Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Beltran. Appreciate it. Are there any other speakers? None? Okay, so we have, thanks everybody for the comments and coming down and spending time with us and giving us your thoughts. We have a first and a second. Mr. Foster?
Yes, Commissioner Gorell,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. DeMars,
Aye.
Vice Chair Dr. Williams,
Aye.
Chairman Villegas.
Aye.
Okay. Well,
All right. Motion carries. So you'll make sure to come spend some time with Mr. Foster and make sure that we're understanding of the totality of the request. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is number 9, review, discussion, and possible action regarding the request for delegation of amateur kickboxing to the World Association of Kickboxing Organizations.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is another item similar to the last item. This is a kickboxing. I've not had, they've requested to come speak to the commissioners. I think there's representatives here. I've not had any kind of meetings with the organization here either. But they do have claimed to have something, some kind of, they're responsible for something with the IOC, as they point out. And I would like to learn more about them, but I can't make a recommendation for, I'd like for them to come back at the next meeting and meet with them, talk with them, see what structure they have to put in place. That's my recommendation, but I'd still like to hear from them.
Sure. Is there anyone from the association or organization that's here today? Would you like to announce yourself, and then we'd love to hear your thoughts and your overview.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for speaking. My name is Roy Baker. I live in Ireland. I came to California today to meet you. I'm the president of the World Federation. That's the Olympic Federation. That's the World Association of Kickboxing Organizations. We approached the Athletics Commission back last June around becoming a sanctioning body for the sport of kickboxing in the state of California. Over the last number of weeks, we've had a number of correspondences with Patricia, coming back asking what information was required prior to us coming here. She did inquire about having a meeting last week to have a conversation with your team, but we didn't receive a response from that. So we are coming here. We are an IOC recognised body. You may be aware that we are shortlisted for LA28 as one of 8 sports which are shortlisted for LA28. So we would wish to become a sanctioning body in the state of California to enable us to run a number of test events under the LA28 programme. It is part of the programme for us to be able to run amateur events in California prior to September of this year, when the final decision will be made about the final programme for the LA28 Games.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Any thoughts from the Commission?
I have a question. So I have a question. I read your stuff, and my thoughts are, because you guys seem to be more focused on the Olympics and more focused on the IOC piece of this thing. Do you really want to come in the state of California and run events full time, like as a regular delegate, or are you wanting to do exactly what you just said and do these test events? Because you could work with the Athletic Commission directly with us. We just send our inspectors down, do the events.
It's a really good question.
Put your banner up, just like we work with the WBC every weekend on events like this.
No, we wish to become a sanctioning event throughout the United States. So part of our development, we just got US OC recognition back in December. So it's the intention of WACO to become a sanctioning body throughout all states in the US. But California is one of the largest sporting states. So it's really one of the first ones that we want to focus on, plus it's the focus of LA28. So we're not just here for 1 year, we want to be here to stay. So we already have a number of partners here in California. We've already got people who are sanctioned and certified by you, willing to come on board with WACO to enable us to run our kickboxing events here. So it's not just for this year. This is a long-term relationship that we wish to develop with our national governing body in the USA, which is WACO USA, which already has clubs and events running in California. But we want them sanctioned under WACO, which is the World Federation.
Do you sanction belts? I mean, is that?
We do also sanction belts. We have professional sanction events and we have amateur sanction events, yes.
Okay, and you have a rankings committee?
We have a rankings commission, we have a rankings committee. You can go on our website. We have a worldwide database where every athlete in the world is registered, and we have a full rankings list. We have an integrated KO and TKO database, so that if something happens here in California, if an athlete wants to go to Ireland and compete in Ireland, they'd be blocked. So it's a globally integrated system with every athlete registered within that system.
Do you have inspectors here in California?
We do. We do have qualified inspectors currently under the California State
Judges,
Athletics.
referees?
Judges, referees, yes.
Doctors, ringside physicians?
No, we do not have doctors.
Not yet. We have referees, we have all of the other pieces, but not doctors.
What are your insurance requirements? But these are things, and we'll
can
go
discuss.
over this.
Yeah.
We can go over this together. But
Sure.
you see, kind of like, this is just, I'm just shooting up, but these are the kind of things that I would like to know before I come back and tell the commissioners a recommendation. We're not saying no. I would like to meet with you, and we can do it on Zoom. You don't have to fly out here. We can do it on
Sure.
Zoom. But I'd like to meet with you, and let's have some
And we'd be delighted to do that, but I did ask on multiple occasions in writing what material and what meetings will be required before we came here.
Have you got your nonprofit status in
Yes.
California?
Yes.
All right, we'll have to have Ken review all that paperwork, make
Sure.
sure you're in good standing. But I look forward to working with you in the, between now and June. We'll have a meeting, multiple meetings.
That's going to present a problem with us because we need to be hosting events before June. So maybe we can talk to you about hosting events in California prior to June. And
Can
what
you
way that
not
could be
work
accommodated.
with the athletic commission directly, like we could do your events until, I mean, with like, I'm just giving an example.
Sure.
It's not like, but Ivan Ramos could promote your show, you put up your banner, and the commission could directly regulate it until such time as you can come back and talk to the commissioners. I mean, both organizations are asking for the state of California to give up their authority over combat sports in 18640 using a delegated entity. And before I'm willing to make that leap, I would like to
More information.
do an event with you, see an event. With the camo events, we go to them. We've been watching that for a long time. The same thing with I mean, when we did this with United States Fight League, this was a real process. I mean, it took a long time for this to happen.
Yeah.
Again, that is youth. So I'm not looking for that, but I would like to do something.
I absolutely with you. We did ask on multiple occasions in writing to say what was required prior to being here, but we didn't get all that information back, but we're happy to work with you going forward. We do have our representatives from WACO USA here. We do have other representatives from California who will be working with us that are also present here.
Okay,
And just to be clear, the next meeting is on Zoom, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so to be at the next meeting, you wouldn't have to fly back here, you just come in on Zoom.
Yeah.
Because the next meeting is on Zoom, nobody will be here.
Okay.
but in the meantime, you can connect with Mr. Foster and make sure that all of his questions are answered, all the issues are addressed, and as he mentioned, understand and see an event, if possible, before the commission takes action. Is there any other?
I think we just made similar comments in our last item, and again, to delegate the authority, that's a relationship that takes some time, and, I don't think one extra week would have been a sufficient enough time for Andy to staff to really get in and have a deeper understanding and verify, do all the things that, we have to do as a body that's going to delegate that authority. That's a big relationship step, and I think getting everything in by May 1st, as the recommendation states, and having a discussion at June 5th seems like a pretty quick turnaround time, and I think we should stick with that recommendation, especially if in the meantime there's a path forward to have events by working directly with the commission.
Yeah, as Mr. Foster mentioned, not say no, we just want to make sure i's are dotted and our t's are crossed, and we have all the proper information to make the recommendation.
Okay. Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
If I may, the power of the commission to delegate only flows to a nonprofit entity. Therefore, it'll be necessary to have confirmation of nonprofit status, articles of incorporation, and bylaws be submitted ahead of that time.
Yeah.
We'll provide that.
Okay. Any other comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for coming from Ireland. I have another speaker, Mr. Rob Zabliski.
Zabilski.
Sorry.
Close. Good morning. My name is Rob Zabilski. I am the president for USA Kickboxing and Waco USA. Currently, we are sanctioning events in the United States. We're a sanctioning body in Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Minnesota, Virginia, Colorado, a few other states. So we are actually sanctioning events. And your question on the insurance requirements, usually, every state is different, but we usually see that it's $25,000 for accidental, $25,000 for medical, generally $1 million or $2 million liability policy, with that. I also wanted to say that, I've been involved with WACO since 1997, and their events, they're all structured the same way, as far as like safety, as far as wearing the headgear, the shin pads, the look of the referees, they distinguish with the bow ties, and you can see any of those events. There's hundreds of events, our national world tournaments, our national tournaments, and you'll see the same structure at every event, with WACO. Another thing, WACO, they are the governing body for the World Games, which was in Birmingham, and the officials that we would have lead the training for the officials here in California were two of the officials that were at the World Games, and they're internationally A-class referees, and they're also in charge of the Pan American officiating as well, and those guys would be the guys that would be used to help train the referees to make sure that the same program throughout WACO is being executed. I think that's it. I'm sorry, do you have any questions for me that I can help answer?
What are the names of the two officials?
Tom Henniger and Tim Mazurkiewicz.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Appreciate it. Appreciate your participation and your time. Is there any other speakers?
That's all I had, sir.
Okay. Thank you. We have a first and we have a second. Mr. Foster?
Yeah, Commissioner Grewell,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. DeMars,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Williams,
Aye.
Chairman Villegas.
Aye. Motion passes. So you'll work with Mr. Foster and we'll have deep dive conversations and understanding, and we'll be thoughtful of the timing that you have.
I just, as part of when we delegate our authority, part of that is showing up at these commission meetings to give reports. So you're signing up by us delegating our authority, coming to these meetings, kind of forever and always to be reporting back to us their work. So correct. They're signing up for those meetings here with us in person or on Zoom going forward if they got that delegated authority.
That's correct, sir.
Got it.
Okay. Thank you. We're on item number 12. Discussion and possible action to approve and adopt proposed changes to proposed text of Section 299 of Article 6 of Division 2 of Title 4 of the California Code of Regulations, dehydration and rehydration, to set a maximum weight gain from the day of weigh-in to the day of competition. Mr. Foster?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a needed regulation to address extreme weight cutting. This particular change came out of the Department of Consumer Affairs Regulations Unit that I want to say publicly is very helpful, and I think it's one of the best units that the department has ever created, because this is really the Commission's authority in a way, is the creation of regulations. This particular regulation would cancel bouts, the big piece of it would cancel bouts if a fighter comes in more than 15% above where they weighed the day before. That's the big piece of it. So to put that into perspective, if a welterweight in mixed martial arts weighs in at 170 on Friday, the Commission's expectation would be that that fighter would be below 195.5 pounds on Saturday. Problem is, we have fighters that are exceeding 25.5 pounds in a day. And in my view, I think in many doctors' view, that's dangerous, it's unhealthy, but it's also cheating in many ways. So this regulation addresses both health and safety and the underlying fairness of the competition. Currently, the way it is, it's just left up to my discretion on whether I cancel bouts or not when the spreads are wide, and I'm doing it, but it becomes it's a lot of and I do my job, but it's a lot of authority putting one person across the entire state. And my thoughts are, when you see the report I give you on the year-end summary, there's about 3% of all mixed martial artists that are exceeding this number, this 15%. It's about, I think the report will show, but it's about 2% in boxing, and it's less than 1% in kickboxing. And my thoughts are that once this regulation is passed, that 3% will go down to 0%. I don't think you'll ever have it exceeded again, because the matchmakers will, and the promoters, everybody associated will fight where they are supposed to be, because nobody wants to cancel a television fight, which is, it's been my experience often, not always, often, the more money that's involved, the more the fighters are willing to cut. That's been kind of the general experience that I've had. And Ken, if you want to read the text that the regulations unit put forward, because I believe there was one little change, but or I can if you would prefer.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. The proposed regulatory text has previously been before the Commission. It returns to the Commission with some minor technical changes that are recommended to address a clarity issue. So if you, Ms. Blackstock, we have that up? Yeah, so that's page 77 of the agenda materials for those following along. And you'll see highlighted areas in yellow and some strikeout text in the final paragraph. That, and some additions, that was intended to address a potential vagueness problem and to improve the clarity of the proposed text of the regulation. So the recommended motion for the Commission to consider is a long one, but I'll read it into the record. It would be to approve and adopt the proposed regulatory text as amended in the version included in the agenda materials at page 77, which is up before this on the screen now, of section 299 of Article 6 of Division 2 of Title 4 of the California Code of Regulations, dehydration and rehydration, to set a maximum weight gain from the day of weigh-in to the day of competition, to direct staff to take all steps necessary to notice the proposed text and to make any non-substantive changes to the regulatory text, and if no adverse comments are received during the 15-day comment period, to direct the executive officer to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking and to adopt the proposed regulatory text as notified, and authorize him to do so. So if that motion is acceptable to the commission, you could say so moved and so seconded.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments from the public? Any questions? Hearing none. Mr. Foster?
Commissioner Gruelle,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. DeMars,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Williams,
Aye.
Chairman Villegas.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
I would just remind you, Andy, assuming that this all goes through, that you tell people about 400,000 times that this is the rule, and there will still be people that said they never heard of it.
Yeah.
But every venue you can think of, go on TikTok, Snapchat, tell everybody, because there will still be somebody that said they never heard of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Item number 13, discussion of possible action to appoint physician to fill the vacant position to the
I have 13.
Okay, we're going to scratch number 13. Okay, so we're going to scratch items 13 and 14, move to agenda item number 15, discussion and possible action to approve and adopt a commission seal pursuant Business and Professions Code Section 18610.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This actually came out of a conversation that I was having, a meeting I had with Commissioner Gruelle in San Francisco a few months back. And the point of this is we'll eventually get some commissioners have their badges made. But before we have them constructed, Ken advised me that we needed to get a seal. And as I looked around through the records, I'm sure at some point in its 99-year history the commission had this, but didn't have one to immediately look at. And the logo of the commission changed. So I asked the Department of Consumer Affairs Design Shop, which they're very good at, doing things to design some options. I present 3 options to the commissioners. If the commissioners choose to pick one, that will become the commissioner's seal, and then I will create, I'll work on your badges.
Thank you. Do we have a recommendation from any of the commission members?
I just don't like the middle one because people won't know what CSAC stands for.
I feel the same way about that middle guy.
So number one,
I like 1 and 3.
I like 1 and 3 as well. I mean, they're both beautiful.
My grandchildren would pick the third one.
do you have a recommendation, Andy?
That third one is beautiful. It's very official, which is the purpose of the identification, to call out the official capacity of the folks who are holding that identification.
And the existing one is similar to number 1, correct? Okay. Okay. Do you have, anybody have a recommendation? We have a motion to,
I'll move that we adopt option 3.
okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any comment from the public on our logo? It's a public meeting, so any thoughts? I see a lot of 3s up there.
I make video games, and it looks like a video game, so I'm down with it.
Okay.
And that center seal, that is the official seal of California. That's not our creation. That's the creation. That's the state of California's official seal.
Correct.
That has a lot of meaning and imagery that, again, from the governor's office to all the functions of government, that's the seal that they operate under, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Foster?
Okay. Commissioner Gruelle,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. DeMars,
Aye.
Vice Chair Dr. Williams,
Aye.
Chairman.
Aye.
All right.
All right. We have a seal. Thank you. Now we move to 14, and thanks for the input from the crowd, too. Appreciate that. We're going to 16, okay. Number 16, discussion of the 2024 strategic plan.
Sir, this is, this item is just more of a high-level, discussion item. Solid has reached out. Solid is the training arm of the Department of Consumer Affairs. They help the commissioners create the strategic plan. But in my experience in the past, it would be helpful, like this agenda item here, is if the commissioners want to give some ideas of things that they would like included. That way I can brief Solid so that we're not starting absolutely from scratch when they come in June or whenever they come June. Okay, they'll be here in June. So that's what this is, so we can kind of start them. I included the last strategic plan that we're currently operating under, and I would think some of these items are carryovers. If you've got thoughts, I can write them down and get them done. If not, you could email them to me. But I wanted you to have this. That's what this is about, so it makes it, we're not starting from scratch in June.
Right, thank you. Any thoughts from the commission?
Yeah, I had two thoughts on it. One, where you talked about 1.7, reaching out to Native American tribal groups, and you had mentioned that there was an agreement with, what was it, Hard Rock? Let's see, Hard Rock Casino Fire Mountain. And my question was, were there any other pending or current agreements with other tribal governments? You mentioned one.
No, we have many, many agreements. In fact, we just did Sequan this past Friday with permission from the tribe to come on their property, and we regulated cage warriors there. We have agreement with Chumash near Santa Barbara, Pachanga, Fantasy Springs.
Okay, so all those mentioned were ones that are in their existing agreements?
Yes.
Because you just mentioned the one, and then it showed these other boxes, so I didn't know if that was existing or pending. Okay.
I think at the time this was created, I was working on that one. Yes.
And then another question about the licensing database. I mean, it looks really good. My only question was, how much is this going to cost?
Yes, a great question. We had to put that on hold because the commission had to divert resources towards other things like litigation costs. So we weren't able to do the licensing database. Yeah.
From a timeline, when would you like to see the strategic plan be complete? Because I think we're already under 2023. We're kind of coming to the tail end of the previous, and I'm assuming you'd want this in people's hands before 2024. But is the goal to try to get that done today, or what are you looking for from us?
No, the goal is just some ideas that I can present to Solid, so when they come in June, they'll already have some things to put up on the screen so that they're not essentially doing what we're doing now during a public meeting, but with like the people that are supposed to do it. It makes the meetings go really long if we do it that way.
Okay, so we have the information, and if I can ask my fellow commission members to review and get Mr. Foster any thoughts, any comments, any suggestions to him as soon as possible so he can make sure to complete the strategic plan.
And I just had one more question. Do we get, because we have all these partners and we've talked a lot about delegated authority today, is there a formal process where these organizations can also weigh in and give us suggestions on the things that they're thinking about?
It's a great idea. We've not done that before. So yeah, it's a good idea.
Be on top of my list of suggestions.
There you go. There's one of them.
There's one of them.
Okay. Thank you. Next on the, do we have to talk about the subcommittee, the mixed martial arts fencing, since we already?
Not
It says
really.
it was taken up under agenda item number 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good?
Unless you have anything to add? No? Okay. Item number 18, Executive Officers Report.
Yes, sir. I can go ahead and start there. So I'll just start with the budget update, and we'll just move from there. As of the time this report was written, the commission had deposited $1.36 million into the support fund, $20,000 in the Neuro Fund, and $62,000 in the Boxers Pension Fund. Now, what's important to note is, since that time, the commission has deposits will be well above $1.4 million. We have a pretty good schedule to the end of the fiscal year, so I'm still confident that the commission will exceed revenue projections. Also, with the litigation coming to an end, the commission can begin to divert resources back more focused on combat sports. And as we come down to the staffing update, but I'll just kind of skip there because it directly involves the budget. I've already directed Patricia to begin the hiring of an office technician to get somebody up in the office to assist, because the events are beginning to really ramp up. The pension plan regulations, the break-in service, we've been working with the DCA regulations unit and benefit resources on finalizing the proposed language. Just so the commissioners are very aware of that, I'm sure that you remember, but there's this provision in the Boxing Pension Fund about the break-in service, and we're working to get rid of that particular, it's a process. Now we have the status updates from the delegated entities. JT Steele can begin from CAMO, Amateur Mixed Martial Arts.
Mr. Steele?
Good afternoon.
Good
JT
afternoon.
Steele with CAMO, California Amateur Mixed Martial Arts. It's great to see you in person. It's been Zoom for a while, so it's good to be here. I just wanted to maybe begin my remarks by commending the commission on the pension plan for the mixed martial artists. It's a long time coming, and I can tell you that there's nothing in the United States like this. In working with our amateur athletes, now that as they go pro, they have a choice where they want to fight as they turn to be professional athletes. I think this does wonders to keep our athletes here fighting in California. It also supports our local promoters because they have something to offer their fighters here in the state of California that no one else can offer them. So it's historic as far as I'm concerned, and I just wanted to commend this commission that this means a great deal to the amateur community as they are preparing to turn professional. This is a big choice for them where they fight, and it makes California a premier place. It always has been, but even more prestigious. I've submitted my report to you. We've had a very busy beginning of the year so far. It's been a wonderful start, had a lot of events. The one thing I would highlight from my report is CAMO is the pathway to the pros for the athletes, for inspectors, for judges, referees, timekeepers. But sometimes we don't think of it as also being the pathway to the pros for promotions. And it certainly is that. We work with promoters from their very first event to some of our most experienced promoters like Roy Engelbrecht or Bellator and everybody in between. So we're having a promoter summit. It's actually going to be in person. It's going to be in Visalia. It's going to be Friday. Just wanted to let the commission know that we're just actively engaged in trying to elevate all of our promoters. It's in California's best interest that all of our promoters are putting on the best events that they can, and there's a certain amount of training that we are involved in trying to elevate these promoters so that they're having safe and efficient, effective events around the state. If you have any questions, obviously our safety report is there as well. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions from the commission? No, thank you, Mr. Steele. The only thing I would add as you get your promoter meeting together as best you can, message that the promotions in these events are economic drivers for the communities, the cities where you hold them. You've seen today, we've had people from all over the world talk about their sport, but we have a lot of people coming from everywhere to California, regardless of the city, so they travel, they spend time in the hotels, they go to the restaurants, they go to the shops, they go to some of the beautiful things we have in California. So I think as best you can highlight that these are job creators and economic drivers. The gatherings, the events that we have is something that we should, in my mind, should be a little bit more vocal about.
It's a great point. It's very, very true. Well taken. I'll pass that information along. And if there's anything else, obviously, that the commission would like to, any messaging that you'd like for the amateur promoters around the state to hear from you, just pass it through the Executive Officer, Andy Foster, and we'll be happy to educate and convey those messages. But just wanted to thank you for trusting us. We love working with you and working for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, sir, is Mike McAtee with USA Boxing. I don't know if Mike's here. I haven't saw him. Anybody from USA Boxing? They submitted a report, sir, so I'll have to check my text message.
Okay.
Might have happened to Mike. Is John Frank here from USFL? There's John.
Good afternoon, John Frank, then USFL, the other USFL, United States Fight League. My report's fairly brief, but I wanted to echo JT's sentiments regarding the pension plan, and if there's anything that our community can do to help support that. We do have very enthusiastic parents for youth fighters that look forward to supporting that program. So if you have materials for us to send out, we'll be glad to do that. In my report, we've been a little bit slow this year. We had one additional event since I submitted my report that consisted of 8 bouts, 0 injuries. And then I do have a recap of the injury tally for 2022. Out of 310 bouts, we had 5 injuries. Most of them were orthopedic. And then finally, I just wanted to recognize a couple of California athletes, adults, that participated in the World Championships for MMA in Serbia last month. We had 2 medalists, 2 females. One is Abigail Alvarez, who was a world champion. You may remember her name because she also medaled as a youth. So this is her 3rd time in the World Championships, twice as a youth, this time as an adult. And we also had a bronze medalist, Victoria Anthony. Both are from California. So that's all I have for my report. If you have any additional questions.
On the 18th, this Valkyrie Fighting Championships, is that all women or is that just the name of it?
Yeah, Valkyrie is all women competition. Most of them are adults. What they tend to do is put about 2 or 3 youth bouts before the adults compete to get a mix of the youth and adults, but it is an all-female promotion in San Diego.
John, I had a question. You have a really good safety record. The only thing that really kind of concerned me when I was reading your report was the one loss of consciousness. That's unusual for a youth. What kind of choke was that? Was that a Von Flue choke? Or
No, it was a rear naked choke in the tournament, and we haven't had it before as far as I remember, but he was loss of consciousness.
It's the first time you've ever had it.
It was the first time, and then he was suspended from the tournament.
What about, I'm not talking about the fighter being suspended, I'm talking about the referee. Was it in a weird place? Did the referee, because I'm just saying for youth competitions, it's my opinion, and I believe I speak for the commission on this particular thing, is we don't want these things going to the point to where the children are getting unconscious, they're going unconscious. That's I would make sure that your referees know and reiterate, look, they're caught deep in a chokehold and they're not going to tap, you got to get them out of there. We haven't had that many go unconscious in the pros in a while. Our referees have been, pretty good about that. That's the only thing that really, it's the only time it's ever happened in USFL history that I can remember after reading all these reports, and that was the concern that I had.
Right, and a concern for us as well. I mean, most of the time the referees will stop the submission short of tapping if they think it's applied properly. Sometimes a choke may be more difficult to detect if it's working or not. But I didn't witness it. I just know it was from a rear naked choke, and I know there was a suspension related to it.
Sometimes those are hard to see, and I get all of that, but just make sure you just relay to your referees about that one provision.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Who's next, Andy?
Okay, let me I think it's IKF. IKF, Tony Fossum with the IKF.
Hi, Tony.
Hello, good afternoon. So I just am going to recap the report that I turned in to you. We have actually had a fairly busy first 2 months of the year as well. We have had 7 events sanctioned with amateur kickboxing and Muay Thai so far. Of those 7 events, one of them was combined as a Pro-Am event with CSAC. And in those 7 events, we had 125 bouts, which would be 250 fighters. Our physicians on hand issued 41 medical suspensions, and out of all 125 of those bouts, we had 0 transports. I am going to call out just a few of the highlights of some of the things that we did this first quarter. First of all, we held an IKF certified training for all of our officials. This was held at the end of January down in Corona. The training included extensive information for inspectors, judges, and referees, and we had special breakout sessions which were focused on glove inspection, proper hand wrapping, and additionally we had a medical awareness instruction that was given by CSAC Dr. Gary Furness. So the training went really well. It was very well received, something that we do plan on continuing, making sure that our officials are updated with the nuances and changes within the sport. We also did hold the Steve Fossum Memorial IKF West Coast Classic. This was a kickboxing and Muay Thai tournament that we held in Ontario. This was also at the end of January. And we actually had fighters from 6 different states come here to California to compete and try for the tournament title. We had 38 officials on staff that weekend. It was a 2-day event. I'm very proud to report we had 0 transports at that event as well. And it has been 11 years since the last kickboxing Muay Thai tournament in the state. And after the response from this tournament, we can tell that the athletes and the coaches really kind of have been starved for that kind of activity and that kind of tournament. Very well received, well attended, and I would hope that we would be able to offer our fighters within the state more tournament opportunities. We had adult men, women, junior boys, and junior girls. And then one final highlight that I wanted to make was that the IKF actually hit a milestone this past month. And since our appointment in 2014, we have sanctioned over 350 full contact events now with the state of California. And that's even after going through almost 2 full years of being shut down with COVID. So we are very excited to have hit that milestone. Very proud of all of the officials, promoters, and fighters that have been with us over the course of this 9-year relationship that we've had with CSAC. So with that being said, with all of our successes that we've had over the last couple of months, I also now have a statement to make. And that is that over the last 9 years, like I said, IKF has operated in cooperation with CSAC to oversee the amateur kickboxing and Muay Thai, and we've had a flawless record. When it comes to the safety standards, they have always been paramount. All of the rules and regulations have always been followed. Recently, it has been brought to my attention that we have an administrative issue. And through the course of my husband Steve's illnesses, hospitalizations, and subsequent passing, there were some documents that did not get filed with the state. So, as his widow and the new CEO of the company, the responsibility falls on me to take care of those issues, which I am doing. I've been in contact with the state, taken the necessary steps to file whatever paperwork was missing and needed to be filed. And then we are currently in a holding pattern right now, waiting for the state to process those documents. Post-COVID takes a little bit longer with everybody being short-staffed. So I have met with Executive Officer Mr. Foster. I've also met with Mr. Swenson. And in discussion of us waiting for this paperwork to be processed, that needs to be processed, today I am voluntarily handing over our sanctioning duties to CSAC until such time that that paperwork is resolved and that technicality is resolved. At that point in time, when the paperwork is taken care of, as per our agreement, we will be ready to resume our duties to continue sanctioning Muay Thai and kickboxing for the state of California, and we look forward to continuing cooperation with the Commission.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure the commissioners are aware of this. That means CSAC's going to be regulating amateur kickboxing for a little while. Okay? Now, we're already stretched, so hopefully Ms. Fossum can correct whatever issues she needs to and get it to Mr. Swenson, and Mr. Swenson says, okay, you're good. And then it's my hope and my thoughts, but the commissioners certainly need to weigh in, that once that administrative issue is done, Mr. Swenson says the IKF is good to go again, we can get that back into the IKF's hands. Because while we can probably do this a little while, there's a reason why we delegate amateur sports, because we have lots of professional things to do. But I will hire the additional staff temporarily to get this done. But this is unfortunate. But we will do it.
Now that we're taking over those events for whatever period of time, these events have to then pay for those services indirectly or directly, or how does that financial consideration work?
That's correct, but our fees are set by statute, and for amateur shows, they're very, very low.
Okay.
So the commission has inherited, I believe it will be less, I believe it will be about 10 events, probably less than 10 events that we'll have to do before the paperwork and Mr. Swenson can take a look at it. But if it's greatly more than that, we'll have to have another conversation in June about this, because they have a lot of events.
Yes,
Okay.
we do.
There's one other thing that I just wanted to point out, if it's okay, sir.
Yeah.
That you're back. And it's something that really, it didn't really hit me, and this is just for you to think about. You and I will talk about this in the future, but Dennis Warner brought up a comment about the tournaments and about having a promoter be involved in the tournaments, because he is a promoter. And I want you to think about that, because while I'm a big believer and a big supporter in having a tournament, I don't want to say a supporter exactly, but I'm supportive of the idea of tournaments. Certainly came up in martial arts, did tournaments for a long, long time, and I think there's great benefit into it. From the business side, Dennis Warner made some comments, and I do see what he's saying, that there needs to be a promoter involved. So I just leave you with that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you very much.
And the agenda's still yours?
We have
I'd just like to say I really appreciate the amateur organizations, you know, and the work that you're doing. When you're a world champion, when you're fighting for a world title, everybody is your friend and everybody is there. And you all bring that person out on the mat for the first time to show what they're made of. And there is nobody there but you and their coach and their parents. So thank you very much for the work you do. It is often not seen and applauded and appreciated enough because there wouldn't be any sport without you all.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Andy?
Yes, sir. I just want to quickly go back to the budget report, just so the commissioners are aware. You've been reading my reports. The commissioner's getting pretty low on, the commission is getting pretty low on funds. I want to say publicly that while I think we're going to be okay, I've asked it for a section loan. The department's getting that processed for me. I actually don't think it's going to be necessary since the litigation's coming to an end and the schedule looks good, but I did want to make the commissioners aware of that situation publicly. The last report that I had the commission with about $250,000 in the reserve, and that's down from right at $2 million right before COVID. So, let's see. Ken, are you running the computer now?
I sure am.
Okay. Let me just get back to my report. I'm almost there, sir.
I think you're on event schedules.
Okay, yeah. The event schedule, we lost the May 6th event. Matchroom moved that to Mexico. Tom Brown has scheduled another Showtime event on April 8th. That's of note. Graham Boylan with Cage Warriors has scheduled 3 more events in California in working with Saquon Casino. So that's a fairly high-level mixed martial arts event that's scheduled with us. So I wanted to point that out. Also, the Sugar Ray Leonard charity event that many of you have attended in the past has been scheduled to save the date. I believe May 24th is the date for that. Wanted to point that out. So yeah, the events are coming in at a pretty heavy clip now. I believe with all being told, we've got over 50 on the schedule with more coming up. So just wanted to provide that information for you. And now go to the year-end summary. Is that where we're at, Patricia?
Yes, sir.
Just a little background on the year-end summary. This was something that Commissioner Van Gordon Souter, when he was on the commission, wanted done so that the commission could engage metrics and look at how the overall scope of the commission operations is doing. And so this is really just a high-level agenda item of exactly kind of different metrics that he was interested in and some things that I've added to it. And I think you'll find it kind of interesting from a business perspective. But the commission, last calendar year in 2022, the commission did 116 events, 116 professional events. Boxing was 74 of those, mixed martial arts was 33, and kickboxing and Muay Thai was 9. The commission regulated 3,869 rounds of combat sports, and I approved last year over 800 bouts. Now, that's far down from years past, and we'll see that in a second. You can see that as we approach the summer months, the summer picks up and the winter kind of goes down. We lose our outside venues during the winter. That's largely, and then we lose about 2 to 3 weeks during the holiday season of when TV is more interested in doing something else than broadcasting combat sports. You're
dissing Christmas.
No. I think this chart right here kind of shows the rebuilding that COVID did. The 4 years were prior to COVID, and then the COVID year, and then the next year, and now we're at 116. And I can tell you from the clip that we're bringing in the permits, and by the way it's looking, we're looking more like something like a 2019 or at least a 2017 year right now. We're going to have a better year than 2022 as far as number of events. Now this is kind of an interesting chart here, because if you recall the previous chart, mixed martial arts was far lower in the number of events. But when you look at the gross event revenue, boxing's 56%, mixed martial arts is 42%, and kickboxing is 2%. You can see that mixed martial arts, essentially what this means is they have fewer events with larger crowds. That's essentially what this is. Calendar year last year, I did 2,648 bout assignments. We had 116 in-state officials and 21 out-of-state officials that worked with us. Mark does the inspector assignments, but there's 56 inspectors. We had hundreds of thousands of people last year that came and watched the events. Last year we had 42 televised or streamed events, and we worked with last year Showtime, Fox Sports 1. We had pay-per-views, ESPN, DAZN, UFC Fight Pass, Paramount, Fubo, and Fight TV. Now, of the Commission's television tax, this is what I was pointing to earlier about our TV cap and whatever. Boxing, we're a boxing-heavy state, California is, and lots of TV from boxing. And boxing has 76% of the TV revenue, 24% for mixed martial arts, and kickboxing did not register with the TV contract. You can see with the sharp drop of events, we also had a drop in our drug testing that we had, although we're starting to get that back. And I want to just pause for a second, because there's been a lot of talk in the media about this particular point, and I just want to give the commissioner something to think about without expecting any comments back. But as these drug testing thresholds, and the commission was the first commission in 2019 to adopt thresholds for PEDs. And by I mean thresholds, I mean like the level that you would be considered hot for, or a violation for. This commission, Nevada last week asked me for our threshold list, because I think they're starting to look at the thresholds as well. And the ABC Medical Committee is waiting on the threshold list. But it's something to think about without conversations needed. But if a high-level athlete has tested positive in the past and their fight was overturned, and then suddenly the threshold list comes down and is changed, what happens to that fight result? And there's been talk about that in the media. And so
you fight under the rules you fight under. If the rules changed, you don't get to go back and change the result.
that's one line of thinking. Mm-hmm. And that's always been our position. But okay, move to the next one. Boxing results. We have 2,765 active boxers, and we have 109 boxers suspended. Of that 109 that we have suspended, we have about 10 that are on essentially my watch list, and I went and watched 4 of them this past weekend in San Diego. We found 4 of them on the same card. And then We had stoppages at about 50%, and draw or decision was the other 50%. Okay. This is the boxing events and boxing bouts. It kind of tracks the same thing. We see events in summer. Okay. Mixed martial arts. Now the TK and KO, that includes the submissions also. We just didn't include that. Okay. Kind of the same deal. You see an uptick, but the winter months are slower months. This is our kickboxing and Muay Thai results. We don't have a whole lot of those events, so I don't have a whole lot of takeaways from this particular just information. Now we do have a lot of data on this. So there's some takeaways here. The regulation that the commissioners just voted for is kind of what that yellow box is about. We did have 10 people in boxing over the course of 2022 that exceeded 15% in boxing, 10 boxers. In mixed martial arts, that number's 30. Go to the next one. And we didn't have anybody in kickboxing that exceeded it. Now, this is the neurological. You come to the commission's weigh-ins or a pre-fight licensing, and the inspectors are doing these baseline tests. We've done 2,185 of these tests since the program commenced. Now, you can see the pension plan distribution. This is, you can see back in 2008, wasn't anything given out. In the years before that, there were not much was given out during that time. But this is over the years, and we're in the process of hiring a private investigator to locate some of the people that are on the lost beneficiary list. There's people that we're owed money to. We have a meeting coming up with the Mexican consulate to give our list to. The list is on the website. So hopefully we're get it out in the press. But since 171 of these pensions have been given since 2012, so we are making progress of getting money to people in their hands. We got 4 in the office being processed right now. All right, next one. That's it. So that's the year-end summary. If you have any thoughts.
And I have a quick question. Sure. Going back to the chart on the number of MMA fighters who gained more than 15%. By the way, it looked like it came down and then kind of inched back up over the last couple of years.
Well, during the COVID year, we had very few mixed martial arts events because we were running bubbles during that year. And the same thing with most of 2021. And then 2022 and 2019 were, I don't want to say 2022 is exactly a normal year because we were rebuilding, but we were back to running events in a regular.
So do you think, there was a significant educational effort, okay, going back, I guess it was prior to 2019, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think that is wearing off or it still has an effect? Do we need to redouble our efforts in terms of education? I know we're going to, have some, regulatory changes, but.
Yes, we need to redouble our efforts with education, keep providing it to the fighters. I think the fighters know this is not good for them. They know it's dangerous by now. But having the education combined with the 15% line in the sand will begin the first hard and fast rule. And I anticipate that number 30, once the regulation passes, that number will go to 0 because matchmakers won't want to lose their card. Mm-hmm. This is a problem that can be fixed with a pen. All the promoter and the matchmaker have to do is take a pen and scratch out the weight and move it up. Mm-hmm. this problem's not insurmountable. It can be fixed with a pen. It's just you've got to have the will to do it. And as the staff can tell you, I move up weights on bouts all the time in the office. Just so you see all these catch weights that are happening in California. But we need to have a rule where because we know we've got enough data now that when we get a fight card, we already flag which ones have had excessive weight gains in the past.
Okay, any other questions?
I guess the question on the weight, since these are like essentially leagues in mixed martial arts, has the UFC or Bellator or others taken a stance on what we're trying to do and where do they land?
Well, UFC has actually, they actually sent a support letter about the commission's weight cutting provisions, and Bellator's been highly supportive. They've sent their people to our seminars. So both those organizations have been supportive. But again, you have the regulatory arm or the one arm of the promotion, and you have the matchmakers on the other side. And the fighters tell the matchmakers, "Oh, I can make it. I can make it." So it's tough.
But the final word is the commission, is the state, is our commission.
That's correct.
Okay. Anything else for Andy's report? Did you already give up the upcoming event schedule? Did you already do that? Okay. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. We did your last year. Your review was excellent, and we look forward to your continued leadership here in California.
Thank you, sir.
And the commission enjoys working with you very much and continuing to try to lead other states and other commissions to keep up. So thank you for that. Now is the time for public comment on items not on the agenda. So if anyone has any comments they'd like to make, is there a list, Patricia? Are we?
I believe everyone on the list spoke during agenda item 8 and 9.
Okay, I have somebody on the right.
Ivan Ramos.
Ivan?
Thank you, Commission. Just a quick question regarding the amateur shows that are, I have a show that's set in 2 weeks, and I was unaware of the transfer of delegation duties for officials. So who would I contact?
Me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Always.
Yeah.
Just.
We're going to regulate your shows. I'm going to try to, because she was using the IKF was using the same officials. I think they're licensed with CSAC. Hopefully it's a smooth transition.
Okay.
You'll pay CSAC's amateur fees.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any others? No hands? Okay, thank you. I'd like to now. Oh, way in the back. I can't see that far. Okay, come up, sir. Please announce yourself.
Sorry, I was giving everyone else a chance to speak, but most of you recognize me by now. But my name is Cameron Frizzell. I'm here to update you on the status of my aspirations to be a professional boxing referee. Since the last time we spoke at the meeting in December, I've stayed busy working as many bouts as I can, including most recently the Golden Gloves. Currently to date, refereed about 431 bouts. I stay busy working with my mentor, Tom Taylor, as you know. He's come to a few bouts recently and provided me valuable feedback and positive things as well. Still looking to take Jack Reese's Sole Arbiter course, and when I spoke to him on Tuesday, he's looking at September again, so hopefully that'll happen this year. In the meantime, I continue staying busy. Any training or shouting opportunities that may arise, I would love to take advantage of that. And as always, with a little bit of luck, my age, Tom Taylor's help, hopefully in the future I can be a valuable asset to the state of California, boxing, and the Athletic Commission as well. So,
Thank you. Thank you for your continued work. Thanks for the update. Anyone else? Oh.
Hello, my name is Bill Henniger. I'm the sanctioning director with WACO USA and USA Kickboxing. If we could refer back to item number 9 on the agenda, I believe it was Mr. Foster that asked the question of Mr. Baker, our focus as it relates to the Olympics and other kickboxing activities across the country. Our task with the Olympics is a big one. After we reach the final step of approval with the USOPC, it will be our job to create Olympic kickboxing in the country. Having said that, we still have to develop amateur kickboxing for people that will never go to the Olympics. So our focus, and especially as it relates to the state of California, we want to work with the promoters here on every level, up to and including Olympic-style competitions. So our main focus is not strictly working toward the Olympics. We would like to enhance the sport of kickboxing across the country. So we will, upon approval, of course, work with all of the promoters to conduct kickboxing events at every level across the state.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And as it relates to the information that you requested for the future meeting, I think I'm going to be your point of contact, and I'll reach out to you directly. Whatever it is that WACO can provide to you, I will provide that for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for everyone's participation and attendance today. I'd like to now go into a closed session.
Mr. Chair, before retiring to closed session with the consent of the Commission, excuse me, I'll start again. Before retiring to closed session with the consent of the Commission members, I would recommend that we not reconvene in open session after the conclusion of our short closed session and adjourn without reconvening in open session.
Okay, that sounds good. So the meeting is adjourned. Thank you for everybody. Thank you to everybody for attending, your participation, and some of the follow-up items that we discussed with Andy. Thank you very much. Now do I have to go into